All righty, welcome to the next episode of Discipline, Desire, and Dedication. My name is Dakota Lang, along co-host Garrett Cotton. Today we got a special guest with us today, Mr. Sean Bingham. What's up, brother?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
We've
super
been talking
glad.
about this for a few months now. It's nice to finally get it
We've
done,
been
you know?
looking forward to getting you on. Just we know that, you're an impressive guy. We've always wanted to get you on just because a completely different field with what we're familiar with. Actually, we are very bad at anything tech at all, so we figured you'd have a good insight for us. So
Yeah, and I met you at the what was Cabo?
Uh-huh.
Yep,
Yeah,
Cabo
Cabo.
trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I met you. Didn't really get to talk to you too much. I know it was kind of a different setting.
Big party.
But kind of what's that?
A big party.
A big
Yeah.
party, exactly. Kind of dive in just on your backstory. Who you are, where you're from, and maybe how you're here today.
Yeah, so I from a business perspective, I'm assuming that's what you're getting with the backstory, right? So
Well, especially you grew up here.
I grew up actually in Virginia as a kid.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was born in the D.C. area. Big Commanders fan. They just won, by the way. They're 12-5.
Dang.
Headed to the playoffs.
Yeah. Jay
Big.
Daniels.
I'm actually very excited about that. That just happened minutes before I walked in the door here. But no, so I moved to Utah when I was kind of just before middle school. So Utah's home for sure, but I was born in Virginia. But I did door-to-door sales myself for several years. I think you knew that, Garrett, but I was pretty good at it too. I was selling a lot of alarms. I was top manager in the industry 1 year, top 10 2 other years, did really well. But I always wanted to do entrepreneurship. So I kind of started looking for different things to invest in or things to start. I remember at one point, while I was doing door-to-door sales, still in my 20s, I would throw parties. So this is kind of a unique thing that you guys will appreciate. So Utah County is full of young people in college that want to party, but they want to party in like a culturally different way that doesn't involve alcohol.
Yep.
So there's like no clubs down there. There's nowhere to party.
Yeah.
And so I would rent facilities for like $2,500 for the night. Like wedding facilities, but I would turn them into like these epic parties.
Awesome.
And we would charge like, $15 for guys and $12 for girls and whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember the first night we were kind of nervous. It was me and my brother. We were kind of like, you're kind of like putting a little bit of your social reputation on the line. You're going to announce this big party you're going to charge money for. It's like, oh, this better be cool if you're going to charge us,
Right.
Yep.
So we were kind of nervous. I remember it was like, I think it was Thanksgiving break. We're in my car and we shook hands like, okay, we're doing it. Like we're gonna announce it on Facebook. This was years ago, so Facebook was the thing.
Yep.
We're gonna put it on Facebook tonight, and we put it on Facebook. Anyway, long story short, not to get sidetracked on the whole thing on this, but we ended up making $20,000 that night
Dang.
doing this party.
This is
And I
the
was
first
like,
one ever.
First one we ever did. We
Okay.
made $20,000.
Success. Bang.
We're like, oh my gosh, we have to do this again.
Yeah.
So
Next week.
yeah, so we did several of them over the course of a 2-3 year span. At one point, we had Imagine Dragons come do a concert. You guys familiar with Imagine Dragons?
Yeah. That's
I
awesome.
paid them $2,000
No way.
to come do a concert. This was before, and now I don't even think you could get a backstage pass for that amount. But
Yeah.
anyway, so we did a bunch of parties. So I've always been entrepreneurial. I've always been looking for ways to, make money, control my own destiny, do my own thing. And my first gig after door-to-door sales, I did that for 5 years. My first gig was actually a music company. It was like an online American Idol.
Oh.
It was called Gig or Top Blip. We called it Top Blip originally. We eventually changed the name to Gig. So gig.com. And it was basically like an online American Idol where you would compete. You would upload videos of you singing, and you would compete against other people, and people could vote online for who was the best. And the grand prize was you got to win the chance to be the opening act at a concert for a well-known artist. So we would partner with well-known artists like Andy Grammer, Dave Barnes. We partnered even with Maroon 5 at one point, Sarah Bareilles, Green Day. Anyway, you would get to either win something from them, or you'd get to be the opening act at their concert. And anyway, it was a really fun thing. It took off. We had hundreds of thousands of active users. We ran that for about 2.5 years, and we sold it. We raised a bunch of money from within our network of guys from doing door-to-door sales.
Yep.
And we eventually sold it to a few of those same guys, and they took over, and they're still running with it today, a decade later.
Wow.
So that was my first little gig doing entrepreneurship. And then we started a sunglasses company after that. And it was just meant to be a side project. Like, we didn't really think it was going to be like our next real thing. It was just going to be like a fun little side gig. And the sunglasses were unique where you could kind of take the sidearm pieces off, you know, like the temples. You could snap them off and like interchange them with different colors or styles, you know. And our first month of online sales, we did, I think it was like $18,000 of online sales. And so we're like, oh, we should like put more time and energy into this and see what we can do. And ended up running that for years. For 4 years, we ended up coming up with floatable sunglasses. So we would promote heavily to people in like water sports, beach towns. Yeah, Lake Powell, yeah. And, you know, I remember we did this. I flew down to Turks and Caicos. We did this really cool video of me floating in the Caribbean with these sunglasses floating around me and wakeboarding with sunglasses on, which you would never actually do, but it made for a good video, you know. Anyway, we put that video online and the floatables just took off. You know, we just went crazy. So in the summers, we were doing $100,000 a month in online sales, you know, kind of thing. It was really fun. Did that for 4 years, and we sold that to a private equity group in Cleveland, Ohio. That was in 2016. So I did door-to-door sales from 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10. Did the online American Idol gig.com company for about 2.5, 3 years. And then this one for about 4 years. The KZ Sunglasses was the name. And then I, as part of, and you can cut me off at any time, by the way. I'm just kind of
I'm interested in this.
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting you up to speed with where I'm at today. So, so we started a marketing event for the sunglasses. This was kind of a fun thing. It was called Adventure Hunt. And Adventure Hunt was a free activity you could enter to win all these cool prizes and win a trip to Panama, which we actually ended up taking.
I love it. Now that I've been on other trips out of the country, I look back and that's like one of my favorite trips.
Yeah.
Just being so remote. At first I was like, man, it's so remote and there's like nobody on this island.
Yeah.
But now I go to Cabo and all these like really busy places. I'm like, oh, I would love to go back to Panama.
Yeah, so. Bocas del Toro. So kind of a funny story. So our very first adventure hunt ever, the grand prize was you just won a trip to stay at the Turtle Bay Resort in Oahu, which we just paid for.
Yeah.
But when we knew that we were going to do more of these events, and I'll explain what the event is in a second, but when we knew we were going to do more of these events, I started calling around and trying to get sponsors. So I talked to, I was on the phone with the Sandals or Beaches Resort in Turks and Caicos, and I had my office door open, and one of my employees had a friend over who was just kind of hanging out, you know, with him for a little bit. And when I got off the phone, his friend was like, hey, I don't mean to eavesdrop, but I just overheard your conversation, and I actually do a lot of the marketing for this new resort in Bocas del Toro, Panama. And I bet you they would do it for free, you know, like what you're asking of this Beaches Resort or Sandals Resort.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, show me about it. Like, show me more. Like, tell me more, whatever. Well, it turned out to be this amazing place, and that's where I've now taken Performance Windows, and I've taken a bunch of other companies. So, but anyway, getting back to what the event is, it was like a big scavenger hunt on steroids, like a mini Amazing Race. Have you guys watched the TV show The Amazing Race?
I've seen it before, but I haven't.
They're kind of like solving clues and completing challenges, kind of racing around the world, you know. So ours was like that, but within your city.
Yeah.
So we had an app we built out, and we'd come up with challenges, and we'd come up with clues, and people would team up in groups of 2 to 4 people. And it would be like a Saturday morning event, kind of like a color run or a Tough Mudder. You kind of team up with your buddies on a Saturday morning and go get amped up to do this big race.
Yeah.
Anyway, the first time we did it, it was just a free marketing event to promote our sunglasses. You had to be wearing our KZ shades in all of your posts. You had to post on Instagram tagging us, which was a huge marketing thing for us.
Yep.
And you had to tag the sponsors, which was huge for them. And it was just designed to help us promote the lifestyle of the sunglasses. But it went so well, we were like, gosh, we should kind of do this as like a separate business and charge people an entry fee. I think we could charge people an entry fee to do this.
Yep.
So the next year, we made KZ the lead sponsor, even though it was still just the same group of guys out of the same office running both companies. And we made a separate entity for Adventure Hunt, and we charged a small registration fee. And we did 10 events like Miami, San Diego, Phoenix, Denver, Salt Lake, LA. I'm trying to remember all the main markets. I think Seattle was one of our main markets. Anyway, Houston. And it went really well. And so that's when we decided we're going to sell the sunglasses business, and we're actually going to transition full-time to this events business because it's a little bit more fun, a little bit more up our alley.
Yep.
And so we did that. And ironically, we had a year prior with the sunglasses business, we had applied to be on Shark Tank for the sunglasses business. And we had gotten really close to getting on the show, but didn't quite make it.
Before you go past that, dive into that because that's pretty impressive, right?
Yeah.
I know a lot of the viewers, they definitely, probably watch Shark Tank. Kind of talk about that process.
So yeah, it's really fun, and there's a lot more I'll get into because we, spoiler alert, we do eventually get on the show. So we were on Shark Tank eventually, but for a different business. So, so the application process was kind of fun because you're supposed to come up with a fun video. So I was wake surfing and interchanging the sunglasses, while I was wake surfing, and my brother, was in like a funny little captain's hat and like a goofy looking Speedo type thing, and he's like big and buff and tan and looking good. And it was just like a super funny video. And then I'm
people's
like,
attention.
yeah, it was a real attention grabber, And then I'm showing how you can interchange the sunglasses while I'm wake surfing. I'm throwing them back and forth to him, and it was really pretty good.
Yeah.
So tons of hoops to jump through. A lot of fill this out, fill that out, show us your financials, a lot of legal questions, a lot of accounting questions, lots of interviews.
And are these like Zoom interviews?
Yeah, they were. We never did do an in-person interview. We didn't reach that far. But they were phone interviews and Zoom interviews.
Okay.
Yep. And then they have you tweak your video and refilm the video and send it back in. And, and then they would just do simple things like, hey, our legal's going to call and ask a couple of questions. And I remember at one point I had gotten arrested once I hopped the fence at 2 a.m. at the BYU football field with a girl. We just rode my motorcycle over to the field, jumped the fence, and just wanted to run around on the field, just for fun in the middle of the night.
Yeah, why not?
Totally harmless, stupid.
Yeah.
But they arrested us. It was I was like, wait, you're arresting me on a date? This is kind of awkward.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That is weird.
yeah.
I never would have thought that you got arrested.
Yeah, I mean, when I say what it's for, people are like, oh, yeah,
it
that
makes
doesn't
sense.
really count, But
What a date, huh?
yeah, I remember joking with the officers, well, you just guaranteed me a second date, so we had to go to court. So
Yeah.
but anyway, so that came up in the legal team was like, what happened in Provo, Utah in 2000? I was like, I thought that got expunged or whatever, So I told them the story. He's like, oh my gosh, yeah, we don't even care about that,
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to make sure there wasn't some actual crime being
nothing
committed,
crazy.
not
Felony or something.
But anyway, so there's just little things like that. There are a lot of hoops you have to jump through with the financials as well, where you're having to show them proof that what you're going to pitch on the show is real, like the numbers you're saying are real. Yeah. So a lot of stuff like that. But anyway, we didn't make it on for KZ. We didn't quite make it on. But when we decided that Adventure Hunt was taking off and it was more fun and it was time to sell KZ, we sold KZ to that private equity group in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. A really cool thing. We had these guys fly out, these smart dudes from a private equity firm, and they kind of vetted us and observed us work in the office for a week, and we went through numbers. Anyway, we ended up closing the deal. It was really cool. Well, I simply made an Instagram post. This is the power of social media. I made an Instagram post. First, I made a bunch of money doing Facebook events, throwing parties. Mm-hmm. Now I just do an Instagram post, and I take a picture of us signing the paperwork and take a picture with the guys, and I simply post hey, I'm proud to say I sold my business, and we're going to focus more fully on this Adventure Hunt one you've seen me talking about.
Yeah.
Well, the head of casting for Shark Tank sent me a DM and just said, hey, congrats on selling your business. We've been following the new one ever since you mentioned it, and we really like it. We'd love to have you on the show. You don't even have to apply this time.
No way.
And I was like, we accept.
Yeah. Hey, look, it all worked out.
So all of the hoops and all of the effort we'd put in for KZ didn't come to fruition with KZ, the sunglasses brand, but they did lead to, they did come to fruition with Adventure Hunt. So we ended up getting on Shark Tank for Adventure Hunt, and our numbers were impressive. We had done almost $1 million in sales, and we were profitable, and we were growing, and it was fun and unique. And so I just knew that we would get offers. I knew we'd get a deal. We actually, so the grand prize for Adventure Hunt was you'd win that trip to Panama, you know, because we ended up doing that partnership. And so we actually had a huge group of winners from all over the country. We had done like 48 locations that year, 48 races or hunts.
Yeah.
And we had to break that up into 2 separate groups of winners because it was just going to be too much to handle, we felt like. So I was down in Panama for 2 weeks straight with my brother Jared, and we ended up leaving like 2 days early to go film for Shark Tank. So we flew directly from Panama to Los Angeles to film for Shark Tank.
Nice
so,
and tan, feeling good.
Yeah, it was really, really fun. So really, really cool. So the show going great. You know, our episode was actually phenomenal. We got multiple offers. There was laughter throughout. Our numbers were impressive. They never stumped us with some crazy, like we rehearsed like crazy. We practiced like crazy. Like we were very prepared. And Kobe Bryant has a great quote. I think it was Kobe. He might not be the original guy that said it, but I'm going to paraphrase it, but he basically says like if you're prepared, like there's no reason to be nervous. If you're nervous and scared and not lacking confidence, it's probably out of a lack of preparation. And
I literally say, and what we do in my office, I literally say confidence comes from knowledge and preparation.
Yeah.
Right?
It does.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes by him is, you can either do it until you get it right, or you can do it until you can't get it wrong. Right?
Yeah.
And that's the preparation.
Yeah.
You know, so much prep.
Yeah.
It's what you put into it. Yeah.
So I remember we got to LA and they don't really have like a set schedule. They have like a bunch of entrepreneurs that are there to film for like a 3-day stretch. And they're just eventually tell you like, okay, you're up, you know, like, so for 3 days we kind of just sat there twiddling our thumbs, and we kind of knew we'd be towards the end because our set required bolting in this like slack line into the ground. And so I was like, we're probably going to be towards the end. So it just kept us in limbo though for like 3 days. I remember one day we tried to go out in the city and like kind of hang out and have fun. And we were out for like an hour, and I was like, you know what? Like, we've been prepping for this for like 6 months. I didn't come here to like explore LA. I've been to LA. I don't care. I came here to get a deal on Shark Tank. I'm going to go back to the hotel room and just like focus in.
No distractions.
And so we did. We went right back and just like went through question after question after question. How are you going to answer this? How are you going to answer that? What are you going to say if this happens? What are we going to do if this happens? We had 2 helpers that were there to kind of help us demonstrate the activity, you know, that Adventure Hunt is. And we had some funny things in place. And so we rehearsed with them over and over and over and over, you know, to the point where when we went and did it live on camera, it was like phenomenal.
Right.
You know? And so it went really good. Bethany Frankel was our guest shark. So the sharks for us, for our episode, were Robert Hershevik, who we did a deal with, Mark Cuban, who is, probably the most famous, and then Lori Grenier or Griner. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I think it's Grenier. And then Damon John. And then the guest shark was Bethany Frankel. So she started like the Skinny Girl brand.
Oh, yeah.
She was on Real Housewives of New York. Anyway. So she made us an offer, and then Robert made us an offer pretty quickly after that, and then they kind of battled, and we ended up getting a deal, and we chose Robert in the end.
Right.
So really, really cool experience. So we ended up doing Adventure Hunt for up until COVID hit. When COVID hit, we were in trouble a little bit. We weathered the storm and ended up selling the company shortly after that, but the entire business was based on people getting together in large groups and hanging out and doing activities that involved physical contact sometimes,
We need to bring that back nowadays.
I know, seriously.
COVID has made everybody so solidarity, they just isolate themselves. So
yeah. Well, the guys that bought it are kind of in the process of resurrecting it right now. So awesome. I'm wishing them the best. We're still in touch with them quite a bit, but so we ran Adventure Hunt until we weathered the storm as best we could in 2020. I mean, our 2019 sales were amazing. It was our best year ever. And then 2020, it just into the toilet. We did a couple of deals.
Did y'all still try and maintain the company through that?
Yeah. We did. I remember we did those, what were those deals the government were doing where you could get the advances and stuff? That helped us a little bit.
I forget, it was
they gave us 6 weeks worth of pay,
Right.
which we were at the time oh sweet,
Mm-hmm.
Well then the the pandemic lasted for like a year and a
Yeah,
half.
literally,
And
yeah.
I was like, okay, thanks for the 6 weeks of
Yeah.
pay. Like we have
hurts.
other things that are, you know.
Yeah.
So I remember we did like we did some stay at home. We call it like the quarantine challenge, like basically trying to help people stay sane while working from home and stuff. And we did little things. I remember Shark Tank did an episode where they re-included us on like how companies are dealing with the pandemic, you know, and that was cool. That gave us a little extra boost of some online sales for some like different things we offered. There was a couple companies in Florida that kept it real and hired us anyway. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. They live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was nice. And then I remember USAA did one on the actually at West Point on the Army base, like
Yeah.
on, you know, so which was
Big
really cool.
banking.
A lot of hoops we had to jump through to make sure it was like safe and sanitary and you know all that. But we got it all pushed through, and that was a good one for us as well. So we did little things to kind of like stay afloat, but for the most part we were dying, you know. So that's where I started Tripio, and that's where we are today, right? So at that point I had some money. I wasn't like pressed
And this
for
is
cash.
right after COVID?
This is like kind of during COVID I started Tripio.
Okay.
And I remember thinking like, you know, I'm not pressed for cash. I'm not, I don't need to desperately go to find something to just like bring in money right now. And I'm not really super busy with Adventure Hunt. So I'm going to pursue this more passion project of Tripio.
By
you know?
yourself?
Me and my brother started originally down the path, but it quickly became just me. Yeah, because he had a YouTube channel actually that was taken off with his wife. And I was like, dude, just go pour time and money into that because you're making money doing it. It's fun. And so, yeah, he went and did that, and I went and did Tripio.
Okay.
So at first I just did it myself, bootstrapped it. I think I put like 60 grand in of my own money. Yeah, we started building a travel app during a pandemic where people couldn't travel.
Yeah.
You know, but I was like, this is eventually going to end, I think, I hope.
Yeah.
This is a perfect time because everybody's trapped, and then when they get out, they're going to want to
Kinda
go
like
travel
when
everywhere.
stocks
Yeah.
fall.
Yeah.
You know, you get them at the bottom. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
Let them loose, and they're going to run everywhere. Yep.
yeah, so we started building that, and it was fun. Like we kind of got it off the ground pretty quick, but the pandemic just kept dragging out, and so I actually put it on pause for like 8 months, and I actually it felt like I was a kid in summer. Remember like the summers when you're like in junior high, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like I can do whatever I want, and
Yeah.
it goes all summer long for 3 straight months, you know.
Yeah.
I just kind of went into play mode for like 8 months. I went and stayed in Hawaii for weeks at a time, just sleeping on a mattress on the kitchen floor of a friend's place that they had rented out, and went to Brazil for a few weeks.
And were you like building content as you're at these places?
Yeah, but like for the most part, I was just living life. I was just
Yeah.
having fun, taking a break. You know, I had built this app that I knew was like ready to launch, but I knew if I spent any time or money launching it, it would probably flop because nobody was traveling.
Right.
So I knew that like the product was there, and so I could test it and continue to build it. But for the most part, I was just having fun. Did a ton of trips to Lake Powell and Moab rock climbing, and I did some stuff out of the Salt Flats. Went to Lake Tahoe. It was just like fun for like several months. Really great time in my life, actually. But then like I came back and brought it all back in and decided. It was like the summer of 2021 is when I put the app live in the App Store, but didn't really tell people much about it. Just wanted to kind of see what it would do. And it was clear a year later, 2022, when I felt like, okay, people are really, truly traveling again. And that's when we started marketing it. So 2022 was like more of our official launch of the app. And then that was like a soft launch. And then 2023, almost exactly 1 year later, we did a hard launch. We started spending real marketing dollars. So the app, I know you guys know what it is, but for people listening, it's just an app that helps people travel better. So it helps you find the best places to go, the best things to do when you're there, places to eat, activities to book. It takes out all the research of travel, and you just simply enter your preferences, and our system will show you, hey, you're going to Hawaii for 8 days, and you're into this, this, and this. Boom, here's your stuff. So the average person spends about 30 or 40 hours planning a trip. And I'm sure you guys can relate. It's like a time-consuming thing, especially if you're going somewhere you've never been. And so Tripio is designed to just eliminate all that for you.
Make it a vacation.
Yeah.
It's incredible. We got the access to it when we were in Cabo or whatever, and me and Journey, we looked through it, and like that's how we're gonna do our honeymoon and everything.
Yeah. No, it's really amazing. So for people that enjoy traveling and you'll enjoy like a little bit of exploring and research, because some people just want to do a white glove experience where they just pay someone to do it all for them and send them a.
That's what I was going to ask you. So like they have the travel advisors. Right? Is that what that is?
Or agencies. Like
travel agencies or whatever. Is this kind of like a replacement for that in a sense?
Yeah, in a sense. I mean, and another aspect of what I do, which is where obviously I took you guys to Cabo and also Panama and stuff, but in Hawaii. But for larger groups where there's like a lot of logistics that go into it, we also plan group trips. I was doing that before, as kind of a side project from the adventure hunt days.
Right.
And so I did a bunch of group trips for companies under my personal S Corp, under the adventure hunt name. I just was kind of doing them as a side project. And I've since rebranded it to also be called Tripio, just to kind of help co-brand with the app. But so whenever people need like a big group trip, a big corporate trip, sales incentive trip, President's Club trip, we plan those and we give them access to the app and we'll put the trip in the app. And so I do a lot of stuff for those group trips in the app as well. But our target market with the app is generally just your everyday traveler who's going on their honeymoon or their group of friends are going somewhere or a family vacation somewhere. We're starting to tap into things that can help travel agencies use the app for all of their clients as well, though. Mm-hmm. So I would hope that by this coming summer, we'll be able to sell our software to travel agencies. I did a big networking thing about a month and a half ago where I learned what travel agencies are doing. And in doing the trips for people like you guys, I've learned what's needed in the app, like, oh, we should put more information about the hotel in there or more flight information in the app. Or because right now it's really just designed to help you find the best things to do, see, eat, and experience once you've arrived at your destination.
Okay.
So we don't do a ton to help you with your accommodations or your flights. We have like links in there that kind of help you a little bit. But most of our app is all dedicated to like what to do once you're there. Yeah.
Which is awesome though. I mean,
yeah,
it helps a lot. In analogy wise, it's almost like it's a travel, like say car rentals. There's Enterprise, like the corporations, and then your Tora, right? Yeah. It's kind of like your own personal preference. You get to choose the car that you want to be in. You get to choose, all the info or the, what am I thinking of, the style of what you want to go with, and how you want your trip to be.
Yeah, the type of trip. Because like, imagine if the three of us are going to go on a trip, it might be a little bit more adventure focused than if we, went with our ladies, right? And so, or like say a family of 5 is going to go on a trip and they got little kids. Well, that's going to be a different itinerary than if just the husband and wife were going.
Absolutely, yeah.
A boys' trip's going to be different than a girls' trip, and so you enter your preferences, and it takes 30 seconds. You just simply say, hey, I'm into moderate adventure. I'm into good eats. Not looking to do anything art, history, culture. Not looking at nightlife. Or maybe I'm moderately into, art, history, culture, whatever. You can kind of slide the scale, 1 to 5 scale on each of these, kind of categories. And then the system will say, okay, here's kind of the top 10 for you, Garrett, based on your preferences for this trip. Here are the things we think you'll love the most. And it's not just a top 10. It's actually like the top 100 things to do. Yeah. And then from there, you can say, okay, from this list, I'll create my own itinerary. Or you can just tap a button and say, create the entire itinerary for me. And it'll just break everything down into every day what you're going to be doing. So it's really amazing. As someone who travels, like I travel a ton for fun. I have for years. In fact, I remember being in Hawaii in 2012. That's how long ago I thought about this. It was it was Memorial Day of 2012. Mm-hmm. And me and my buddy were doing all these cool hikes that were technically illegal, but like they're ones that everyone does, like Sacred Falls or Stairway to Heaven.
Yep.
And it was so difficult to like find how to do them and like where to start and where to go and like how to successfully do it. We were just like, how is there not an app for this? Like, how is there not an app where like it's going to have a pin on a map and it's going to have pictures and a description and like just all the information you need. And I remember thinking like, I want to do that somehow. And so I thought about it for years and eventually did it.
Well, I'm 100% with you. I feel like me individually, whenever I go on trips, with people, you spend you go, okay, I'm gonna go to this place and we're gonna go see this, right? But if you don't have that specific itinerary, detailed, you spend most of your time trying to figure out what you're going to do.
Yeah. Or an even bigger problem that I've found people run into is they fall into the same tourist traps over and over and over. I had a friend who will remain nameless because I don't want to embarrass anyone, but he was like, he knew I loved Oahu, right? Mm-hmm. Well, he's over there in Oahu, and he's been there for a few days, and he texts me. He's like, dude, I don't know what to do. He's like, I have done all the stuff. Like, I rented the wave runners. I did the parasailing, and I'm like, have you not left Waikiki Beach for 4 days? Like, that's your problem. Like, get away from Honolulu. Like,
there's so much more.
Go to the North Shore. Go to the Windward Coast, the East Side. Like, there's amazing hikes, amazing beaches, amazing restaurants. Even on the West Side, nobody goes to the West Side. One of my favorite hikes on Oahu is on the West Side. It's the Pink Pillbox or the Maili Pillbox. It's amazing over there. It's spectacular snorkeling is over there at Electric Beach. And, there's so many things you can do that are outside of these same tourist traps. But if people don't know where to turn, then it's not really their fault, And so Tripio is designed to hey, we're going to show you everything there is to do. And we're, if you're in Paris, don't worry. We've got the Eiffel Tower on the app. So we'll tell you, we'll tell you about the Eiffel Tower too. Yeah. So you're not going to miss anything that you want to hit.
For stuff like that, do you have tips as far as best times to go?
Yeah, we do actually. In fact, one of our things, we're running this as an ad right now for people to download the app. It's just a cool spot to get the best photos of the Eiffel Tower away from crowds.
I've been seeing that on Instagram.
Yeah. So we try to put stuff like that on there. But a lot of that stuff, honestly, you don't really need anyone to know to go to the Eiffel Tower. You just know to go. And so Tripio is designed
a place for that. Yeah.
Yeah. But once you're there, and sorry, let me just finish this one last thought here along the same train or line of thinking. I was in a place called it was Yangshuo, China. I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, but Yangshuo, China. And I'd never been there, just heard it was cool, and I knew it was near the Avatar Mountain, big jagged mountain, place. And so we went and, we saw these amazing mountains, did this river cruise, did these really fun, amazing things. And we had a couple extra days, and we kept seeing this sign for this mud cave, you got to go to the mud cave, the mud cave, the mud cave. And we post on social media like everyone does, what should we do in Yangshuo, China? And a couple people had been there before and oh, you got to do the mud caves. And so okay, I guess we'll go to the mud caves. Yeah. We get to the mud caves, and it was the stupidest thing I've ever done. It was so lame, so boring.
Underwhelming.
So underwhelming, tourist trappy, ridiculous. That halfway through, I stopped the tour guide. I said, hey, I'm not trying to be rude, but we only have a day and a half left, and this is not at all what we expected. Mm-hmm. And you're deep in this totally, they've actually ruined an amazing natural cave and turned it into a big tourist trap with gift shops and
throughout the cave.
The mud cave was man-made. It was a man-made basin where they had just poured dirt and water in. I'm this is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they're having you do these goofy photos. It was so stupid. Anyway, so I said, look, we want to go. This is not what we signed up for. It's no offense to you. This has been great. Thank you so much, but we'd like to leave. So he has to escort us out of the mud cave early, we have to skip the rest of the tour. It's kind of awkward. But we got out of there, and it's just instantly started exploring on rented scooters and just started exploring on our own. I had way better time.
Oh yeah.
And I remember thinking that moment, I was this is the stuff I want to help people avoid. Yeah. It's the stuff that somehow their marketing just hit, and they've convinced everybody that they're the thing to do when they're not. There's way better things to do that are actually free even, So with Tripio, that's our goal, is to help people find the truly, truly best stuff to do based on your preferences.
And budget.
Budget.
What you just said, free. Because a lot of people, they think about all these expensive things okay, I got to buy the flights, I got to figure out, where I'm going to stay, I got to, bring money to make sure I'm going to do these different things. With the app, you can probably distinguish what's free and what's not to where you can plan that out, huh?
Yeah. And you can toggle on show me free activities only, show me kid-friendly activities only, show me wheelchair accessible activities only. We've got a bunch of things. And so, but I tell our gurus, I call them the gurus, They're the travel experts that do the research, and they're really freaking good. And we incorporate AI, we incorporate all the new technologies to make sure we're getting the best stuff. But I feel strongly that like if there's not a human element attached to it, like AI is wrong a lot still.
Yeah.
Like I'm a big sports guy, and like AI still thinks that Russell Wilson's like on the Broncos or the Seahawks or something. Like they don't realize he's on the Steelers yet somehow, you know? And so AI is wrong a lot. And so we use AI, but then we fact check it with like boots on the ground people that have been there, done that. And so I always tell them like, hey, for anything that's like a must do, I don't care if it costs money or not, we got to put it in there. But outside of those, let's focus pretty heavily on things that are free, like free hikes, free viewpoints, free, you know, whatever it might be, like street art or different things that people are museums, whatever people are going to be into. And so when you go in the app, you can find amazing tours if you're looking for tours. You can find amazing adventure if you're looking for adventure. You can find amazing museums, or you can find amazing just free, fun stuff to go and explore that's unique for that town, you know? So like we're not going to put anything in there that you could do anywhere. Like I remember initially some of our gurus were putting in like these indoor skydiving places. Yeah. And I was like, nope, go remove all of those. Like I don't travel somewhere to go indoor skydiving.
You can do that here in Utah.
You know, like, yeah. So we have like anything that's unique to that area, we're going to have it. Like I'm biased, of course, but I'm also our target market. And I can honestly say that when you're looking for stuff to do when you travel somewhere, there is not a better resource than Tripio. Like there really isn't.
Right.
Our biggest problem right now is we don't have the whole world covered. We have 200 plus destinations. All of your top travel destinations you're looking to go to, we have them. But there might be the occasional destination you run into where maybe we don't have it yet. And we're working on some things right now to keep expanding.
So do you work on the actual app itself, or do you have people that are doing that?
So I don't do any of the coding. I'm kind of at this point more, you know, I'm the CEO. So we have a front end iOS developer. We have a front end Android developer. We have a back end developer, which means he's the guy that's building out all the nuts and bolts that talk to Android, talk to iOS, and it works for both systems. We have a designer, and then we have a handful of gurus or researchers. And we have a social media guy, and we have a different marketing guy. So it's like a team of like maybe 12 now.
Right.
And I kind of just am working with all of them.
Right.
Know?
Of the businesses that you've been a part of since door to door, since you got out of there, would you say this is the most complex that you've dealt with?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just as far as tech world in general, you know, all different countries, different languages, different. It's probably a lot of challenges.
And tech can be tough because it's always advancing, and I'm not like super technical myself, and so I rely heavily on our team of guys to be there and for us. And there's actually more than just the three of them. They've got a couple of assistants that I don't work with a ton, but they do. You know, and they're all out of Pakistan, and so it saves us some money. But their English is flawless, and their works. I mean, you'll see you know the app. They're really really good.
It works, yeah.
But it saves us a little bit of money because if you hire people here, it's going to cost us 4 times as much to build it.
So throughout all the businesses you've been in, though, it seems like since 2012, this has been on your mind and on your heart, right? Yeah. So would you say this is the new vision? We're chasing this for long term, right?
Yeah. I've been chasing it for a while, and you know, there's bumps along the road. There's times where it's like, oh my God. I mean, me and my buddies that are entrepreneurs, like we'll send each other memes every now and then when we run into them. Like an entrepreneur is like it's a roller coaster. You know, like you'll have days where like, oh my gosh, we're on top of the world. We're gonna, you know, we're making billions. We're changing the world. We're doing all this stuff. The next day, you're like, oh my gosh, I just need to go get a job. You know?
I feel it. Yeah, and it's just I kind of relate it because I can see Tripio. Like I see the vision of Tripio. Yeah. Like once it is established and it's the go-to thing, like people know it. It's like Nike, right? And I just finished Phil Knight's book of Shoe Dog. And he goes through so many things across the world, right? In Tokyo. Have you ever read that book before?
I should read the whole thing. I've not. I've read a bunch of excerpts, and I own it, and I will hit up chapters when I need them, but I've never read the whole thing.
Yeah, and it's just so applicable because, I mean, business is business, right? I love, because even something that I've learned at Performance Windows is success is based on a pendulum. you know, the harder that it swings towards failure, the greater successes that you'll have.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to be, instant success is going to build your ego and it's just going to go to your head. But slow success builds your character. And it really, it shows why you're doing what you're doing. So I believe in it. I really do.
No, I know you do.
It's a amount of time.
Yeah.
You know, when time comes, it's gonna be there. You're doing all the backing right now. So I think it's extremely impressive.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, and it's something that, like, it's one of those things where, to me, it's like, and we do have like 60,000 downloads now, so we're moving, like things are going.
Yeah.
But, you know, with apps, you'd like that number to be like in the millions. So there's times where I'm like, man, like, I know this is solving a problem. Like, why are people not using this more? And so we just got to keep tweaking the marketing, and we are making progress. Like, we are making progress. We are making steps. We are growing.
Why do you think that you haven't reached those heights yet?
Man, that's a good question. I think sometimes when you're the creator, it can seem so simple to you when it's not to the average person, you know? And so we're working on like our UX. You know, I brought in a few, product management experts to kind of look at the UX, user experience, and the design, and like, what can we do to make this better, simpler? And focusing on, like, we just installed a bunch of software that tells us what everyone's doing when they're on the app. So it'll show us, like, they clicked on this, then they clicked on that, and then they clicked on that, and then they bailed. Or they clicked on this, they clicked on this. And so we can kind of see what people are liking and not liking. We should have done that, you know, probably a year earlier than we did. But it's in there now, and we're learning a lot from it. So I think a part of it is that it's super self-explanatory for me, but it's because I created it.
Right.
So I think our biggest challenge right now is to focus on the things we know that are working, and then the things that we know will work, just find a little bit better way to explain them and show them in ads, and then maybe get influencers to talk about them. So we're working on that right now as well. We just launched, one of our challenges is, which would go right in line with your question actually too, is that people just don't travel every day. You know, they don't even travel every month, or even in a lot of cases every quarter. And so sometimes it's just out of sight, out of mind. They've got their one family vacation.
Do you feel like that is because of finances? Or do you feel like just people do not want to travel anymore?
I think people would love to travel more. I think it's more they just don't go on more than a handful of trips a year. And a lot of those trips are to places they know really well where they're not doing any research. They're going to, for those in Utah, it's like St. George. It's a 3-hour drive south.
Yeah. For us, it's Destin, Florida.
Or
Panama
Disney
Beach.
World.
Yeah.
Disney.
Yeah, Disney. Or they're going to Disneyland. It's like, I just got to buy a flight and a hotel, and I'm going to go to Disneyland for 3 days. Yeah. So
that goes back to what you're saying is about just finding that, because Disney World, you buy a flight, you go to Disney World, and you go to the parks, right? Yeah. It's simple, right? And I feel like, because I can say just for myself, you know, if I was like, hey man, I want to go to Japan, you know what I mean, I would not know where to start, you know, besides just buy a flight and now Tripio. But a lot of people that don't know about that, they wouldn't even know where to even begin.
Well, and I would argue that that's what keeps people from exploring more too, is they just don't know. And like I've hit a point now where I actually prefer to go back to a lot of places that I love. But for years, and I've been to like 65 countries now or something like that. So
that's crazy.
You know, I've traveled a lot.
Incredible.
But I had this thing where I was like, I do not want to go back to a place when there are so many other places to explore, you know? Like, when people are just going back to the same place, the same resort over and over and over, and they're only doing like 3 vacations a year, and 2 of them are like just repeats, I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, there's a massive world out there to explore. But I think a lot of times people just don't know where to start. They're a little bit intimidated by foreign sometimes. But technology is such where, like, it's so easy to travel foreign. Like, I lead groups on trips to countries where I don't speak the language. And I'm leading a group of like 60 people, and I do it regularly. Like WhatsApp, Google Translate, Tripio, like they're all there to help us with this stuff, you know? Yeah. And so, where was I going though right before that? There was a thing I did have a point I wanted to make. I can't remember. Oh, you had asked why I think people aren't traveling as much. Yep. I was saying that's kind of one of our issues in people not using it more is they're just not traveling.
It's not an everyday app. It's twice a year app for a lot of people. Yeah.
So one of the features that we're really boosting right now is, well, there's two of them. One is building your bucket list. So like daydreaming about where you want to go and like things you want to, experiences you want to have in life.
Almost tied into like goal setting if you could.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. With the beginning of the year, it's like, hey, build your bucket list on Tripio. So you can go through all these different activities. You can look at, featured itineraries or popular travelers that have like, different lists of places they've been and things they've done or trips they've done. And you can quickly find stuff that might interest you. And you can just tap the heart on any of the activities within the app, and it'll add it to your bucket list. So it starts building a bucket list for you, and it breaks it down by destination and by like activity category, and it puts it in a map for you. It's really, really awesome. And then the reverse of that is you can also mark off places you've been and things you've done. So you can we call it been there, done that. You can just, boom, I've been there, done that, been there, done that. And so you can start to build this like travel journal of all these places you've been and things you've done. And so those are two things that I hope will get people to want to use the app more regularly outside of when they're traveling, but just in their everyday life.
Do you think that the bucket list thing, say somebody goes in there and they're like, oh, I want to go to Costa Rica, right? Is there like a way that they could have like an account where they could constantly get $20 out of their check drawn going straight into that to where they could have a fund for it?
Oh, that could be cool. We don't currently have that
system, even a point. You think about Chick-fil-A rewards. I go to Chick-fil-A for rewards. I'm like, hey, I got free this.
Yeah,
maybe like a point system or something like that to keep people more involved in that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always...
That's interesting, because I do think financially it holds people back sometimes, or just being able to get time off work is another thing, or schedules of school or whatever.
Or you make it into a game, even because I think about, you'll advertise on Instagram, Facebook, all that kind of stuff, but maybe it's just not getting reached out to the right people. Like maybe if you had something amongst hostels or something like that throughout the country or throughout the world, where people come in and it's like a game to keep up and see what they could knock off of this bucket list. No,
that's actually cool.
Kind of like your adventure hunt. I mean, it's an adventure. It's a different type of adventure hunt.
Yeah. We do have like profile badges we're adding in. That's like a project that's currently underway where you can, if you mark off a certain number of activities complete, you can get different badge of like, been there, done that. Like you're an explorer, you're an adventurer, you're a master traveler, you're a, whatever.
But even finding like the professional influence, like the travel influencers.
Yeah.
If you had them to keep up with some sort of like reward system, you know, and then you get the people, because they see travel on TikTok, they see travel on Instagram.
Yep.
But if it's not coming from Tripio, it's coming from like, I've up to this status or whatever because I've been to every country in the world. You know? Yeah. Maybe it's a way that it could get it out there, different. Different
well, I was thinking because and I've never been on a cruise, but like I've heard people talking about like on a cruise you can do your stuff into like different payments, right? And I feel like me personally, a lot of people, they go, okay, I want to go to this place, but then their money's sitting in their account. Well, then life goes on. That's on the back burner. That money goes somewhere else, and they never have the money to go on vacation.
Yeah.
So if you could have, like, inside the app where you could have $20 coming out of your bank account every week and you don't even see it, guess what? You're building a fund for that goal of your vacation for that year to where...
Set up for like a payment plan almost.
Well, like, it just comes out. You never even see it. And then you look up, there's your $1,000.
Yeah.
Now, guess what? Now you can go on a trip.
That could go in that goal setting time.
I actually like that a lot.
Beginning of the year, set up your fund, and then it's going to benchmark of where you should be at.
Yeah, because whenever you build out your trip on your destination on Tripio, does it give you a dollar amount of how much that's going to be?
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
So, but if it could give a dollar amount, and then you could have like an account to, okay, this is how much we need to do. You take out $20 a week, boom, you're building it up. They don't even see the money because it's leaving the account.
Yeah.
Right? Whenever it's sitting in the account, people naturally have the tendency to spend it.
Yeah. It's true. And I think one of the things we're talking about too is like partnering with companies. There's a lot of companies there's a lot of studies rather that are finding that employees that use their PTO, like actually use it and go on a vacation and like, take the opportunity to like get paid to be out on vacation.
Yeah.
They come back just happier, healthier, more open-minded. They've got new ideas. They're more driven. Like just life's better if you actually like go on vacation once in a while, you know?
Instead of work every day.
So I've been thinking about trying to partner with companies where, they could be giving out Tripio Pro subscriptions to their employees as like a perk. but there's different ideas we have to get people, because I think what you're hitting on like the right avenues, where if we can just get people to go and actually like set a goal to travel and then like help them work towards it and actually do it. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know many people that come back from a vacation just like, oh, that was what a waste. I'm so sad I did that.
Yeah,
like,
most time when they come back,
is that the case,
they're ready to plan the next one.
Yeah.
They come back.
I think that would be genius.
Yeah, I think it'd be smart too. And even if like our first V1 is just like simple steps and like helping them set goals or telling them dollar amounts, or that could be a cool thing. I'll have to look into. Yeah.
One question I do want to ask you, because you were in the door-to-door sales, and then now, I mean, this is online sales. What would you say is the biggest difference from in-person selling rather than trying to reach somebody through a phone or something like that? What is the biggest difference?
Man. So if you can get really, really good at marketing, which I have moments where I'm really good at marketing and it works and it goes and it makes good money, and but if you can get really, really good at marketing, it's like an unbeatable skill set. Mm-hmm. Because now the sales are being done for you through your marketing. You guys know who Gary Vee is, I'm sure.
Yeah. You're hitting the masses rather than just an individual.
But doing door-to-door sales, like, door-to-door cons this week. I don't know when this episode's going to air or whatever, but door-to-door cons this week. So I'm all about the door-to-door industry. Like, the skills I learned in the 5 years I did door-to-door sales are like invaluable. I still use them to this day. My main source of revenue right now is the group trips that I take companies on from the door-to-door industry, because of my experience there, my connections, and so I'm still doing more in-person sales than anything. Mm-hmm. And so those skills are invaluable. But if you can become a masterful marketer, I think those are even more valuable, So, but it's harder because it's always evolving. There's a lot of things, Gary Vee is always pushing, like, just be pumping out content on social media. So I think it's cool you guys are doing this podcast so much, but the more content you can pump out, the more your personal brand can grow, and you can let that personal brand be, whatever you want it to be. That's how these group trips started becoming a thing, is I was just doing so many trips on my own, and then I started selling them to companies through Door-to-Door Con back in like 2018 or something like that as like a side hustle. Well, I was on one, and this girl just DM'd me. She's like, "Hey, do you do group weddings ever?" Or like destination weddings? Yeah. And I was like, Of course. I've never done one before.
Sure. I do it all.
Yeah, of course I do weddings. So I ended up planning a wedding, but I didn't plan the wedding. I planned the destination wedding, the trip aspect of it, and then I just hired somebody else to do the wedding part of it, But again, that came from social media. So, so I do think that the biggest difference is with marketing, man, if you can get good at online sales, which is really marketing, that's when you'll that's when people become like billionaires, I feel like. Direct sales, millionaires status, which is great. It's a great lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And that's just for the record, I'm not I'm not even close to a billionaire. Just let the record state that. I wish. But I do think the ultimate goal is, man, if you can become a masterful marketer, the world's your oyster. You can do anything,
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's incredible. What, to kind of wrap it up a little bit, the process of creating your own app, right? There probably some listeners out here, might have a dream of creating their own app, right? Yeah. What would be your advice to somebody that wants to do that?
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
No, I would say this. So this is like, my girlfriend always teases me that, I've chosen to be in tech whenever tech doesn't work, I get like really frustrated, That's what I love so much about the iPhone is like it just comes out of the box and it just works exactly like I want it to work. Like It just is intuitive, and it was like that from the day I bought it, 15 years ago or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. So their user experience is phenomenal. So I would say, like, if you can master tech, I mean, that's obviously the big craze for the last a couple decades really is like tech. If you can do it, you're going to make gobs and gobs of money, and you'll solve problems and you'll be a difference maker and it'll be awesome. Just be prepared. Things are always needing to be worked on. Did you guys ever watch the Social Network, the Facebook movie?
I love that movie.
And he asked him the questions like, when is it going to be finished? Remember that part?
Yeah.
And he's like, never. It'll never be finished.
It's always growing.
It's always
Keeps going, keeps evolving.
And that is something that's like tough for me. I keep wanting to hit a point with Tripio where I'm like, okay, we'll be done here, and it's like that day will never come.
Yep.
You'll always have to keep paying for more innovation, more research, more R&D, more QA.
Good enough doesn't exist.
Yeah, you got to just keep building new features, fixing bugs. So be prepared for that. I will say this, one thing that I'm looking for currently, and I think I'd be better off if I had, would be a technical co-founder. So if you're going to start an app, having a team like I have, it definitely works. We've got a very amazing app with tens of thousands of people using it around the world. So it can be done. But I think if you have a technical co-founder, someone who's bought in as thoroughly as you are, but they have the technical skills to like dig in and do it themselves, some of the work, that will make a huge difference. Because right now I have to send Slack messages and create Jira tickets. Jira is a software that we use to, kind of roadmap our whole process out.
Right.
But, all this stuff's done through that. If you have someone who's equally invested as you are and equally passionate as you are that can actually do that work themselves, that would be a huge, huge plus. So if you don't have those skills, that would probably be my number one piece of advice, would be to find someone who does, that shares your vision, shares your passion, and partner on it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So,
you got anything you want to wrap up with?
Not so much. I wanted to ask a question earlier. Just as far as for each one of your business ventures, would you say that you're the main driving person to get them to where they are, or do you have is there like a right hand man that's always been there, like pulling you up?
I would say yes, I am the main driving person.
Because that's hard and long. Because I've had a million good ideas that I've never acted on.
Yeah.
So it's impressive alone to take, what is that, 3 or 4? 3, 4?
4, yeah. So, yeah, 4.
4 businesses, and you start them from scratch. Ultimately, for the most part, it's your ideas and you're the motivator.
Yeah.
So what's kind of the thought processes whenever you're opening each one of these new ventures? I mean, is it just balls to the wall, like 100%, it's not going to fail, just that type of mindset, or where are you at?
In the first few, my brother Justin, who actually passed away a couple months ago, they were his ideas.
Okay.
And he was an equal driving force with me. That was for the gig company, the Online American Idol, and the sunglasses. Those were actually both his ideas. And then he brought them to me, and we were just like in lockstep. Like we were both very motivated people. We were just like,
just don't know what to do next.
Let's go do it. So we would go do it. So we would. And the best way to learn is to just do. I always tell people that, like, just start doing things, and like it's crazy how much you just learn. Like, there's a lot of things where I'm like, oh, I'm kind of an expert on Facebook marketing, and it's just because I started doing it.
Done it so much.
Or I'm kind of an expert in, now I'm definitely an expert in travel because I've just done it so much, and now I'm doing it for large groups, and so there's just things you become really good at by simply doing, and you can always be learning. Like especially with AI, with ChatGPT, and with YouTube, like you can learn to do anything you want to do, and so don't let not knowing what to do stop you because you can quickly learn what to do. And so yeah, I would say I was the big driving force in most of them, not necessarily by myself, but equal with either my brother Justin or my brother Jared. But these last couple with Tripio and the trips, like it's definitely just me. And I love it. I like controlling my own destiny. I value my time and my freedom. I like being able to, tomorrow I'm debating if I'm going to work or if I'm going to go snowboarding.
Yep.
And I don't have to ask anybody.
That's the beauty of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I just get to decide, well, do I want to put in the extra work in the evening or some other time if I go snowboarding? Will it put me behind? And if the answer is no, or I can do it another time, I'm going to do it. I don't have to ask permission to go work remote. I don't have to I don't have to do anything. I just get to do what I want to do. And I value that more than I value money, honestly.
Yeah, that's success in its own,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
to have free will, you know.
So
What's that saying? They say that most people, they trade time for money instead of money for time.
Yeah.
You ever heard that saying? You
I
ever
feel
heard
like I have something along the lines.
Something
of
along the line.
people would definitely, I mean, like, have you seen that? It's kind of like a cheesy clip, but it also is like very telling. But the guy's like, this is more about just having your life. But this guy's like interviewing people on the street, and he's like, if I gave you $10 million right now, would you accept it?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, what do you mean? Like, if I just said, here's $10 million, would you take it?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, of course. Yeah, please. And like, what if I said you weren't going to wake up tomorrow? You know? And he's like, well, of course I wouldn't. You know? He's like, well, then go live your life. You know? So in other words, your life is worth more than $10 million. So like,
That's true.
Live life like that. And I think that's similar to what you're saying, where it's like, yeah, if you're a billionaire, but you're constantly like bogged down with like work and like legal disputes and battles, and you don't get to enjoy your money ever with time, like who cares if you're a billionaire then?
Yeah.
At that point, I wouldn't want that. More money, more problems, you know?
Yeah,
I'd now, if you can be a billionaire and have all the time in the world, that's even better.
Yeah.
You know? And I think there's plenty of billionaires that have that. But yeah, I think to me, time is more valuable than money, personally. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
What if y'all had like I'm brainstorming over here a little bit, but just like as far as like instead of pushing the app, pushing the vision that comes with the app, you know?
Yeah.
Like as far as like on the, like the ads and stuff that you run, more of just what you just said.
Yeah.
Time is more valuable than money.
Yeah.
So start selling the vision, because I think
Yeah.
it's sales at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You know, so you can't do door-to-doors and you don't have the emotional effect personally. But if you want to attach emotion to the people, people won't, I mean, they're not going to see an app and have an emotional attachment.
Yeah.
But if you were to sell the vision of like,
The
live your
experience,
life,
yeah.
like take the risk, you know, go that
Yeah.
place, you know, it might be a different approach.
And this is a perfect time of year to do that because it's January.
Exactly.
So people are,
I'm excited to see where it goes, though. I know I'm here for it. I'm a ride. Let's ride to the end. Let's see what
I
happens.
appreciate it, dude. I'm excited too. So, yeah, it's fun, and I will say for people that are like, I don't know, how much of the audience is entrepreneurs or looking at it, but take the risk because I mean you're an inspiring story to me. I've told you that a bunch, but like you took that leap, and your life is just night and day difference. You know?
Yeah.
Because you had the courage to take the leap, move somewhere new, try this crazy new thing with like, you get paid zero if you fail. But you're like, well, I just won't fail. You know?
That's
And
not
all of a
an
sudden you're
option.
making way more than you ever were before, you know?
Yeah,
So
the pain of regret is worse than the pain
yes.
of failure.
Yeah, in fact, I read something the other day. It might be a little harsh, but it was, you guys know Alex Hermosi?
Mm-hmm. I love them.
So he put it on like Threads, I think it was, but he said losers fear failure and winners fear regret.
Yeah, absolutely.
And fearing regret is the right way to live life. Like go live so that you won't have regret, and you'll be way better off.
Yeah, the more failure, the more success that you'll have.
Yeah.
Because it's just you learn from everything.
Yeah.
You know, the failing is coming and doing this job. It took me 6 months to learn it. And 6 months of failure, now we spend people off in 2 months and they're qualified.
Yep.
You know, but I had to fail for 6 months so that I can teach others how to do it in 2.
Yep.
You know, so,
Well, that's like when people go back and they're sitting there from the back and they're like, "Oh, it must be nice." You know what I mean? It's like, well, I failed more times than you tried.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you just go out there and just take that risk, then
Or they got lucky. Right?
Yeah,
That's
got
it.
lucky. Yeah. So hey, bro, it was great having you on.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Absolutely, bro.
for sure.
Where can people find you? Facebook, Instagram?
Instagram, personally, you can just on Instagram, Sean Bingham, SeanBingham.
Perfect.
And then Tripio app on
Tripio.
Instagram and tripioapp.com or just tripio.app.
Yeah, you can find that in the App Store, right?
Yep.
Find it in the
iOS
App
and
Store,
Android.
check it out.
Totally
And-
free to download, by the way. Most of the features are free right now, too, because we're trying to just make sure the whole world can see what we've built. So it's actually like pretty much entirely free right
Do
now.
you
So
have
go
like
download it.
maybe like a free? Is there like a free trial or something on there?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Right now, it's actually just free.
A free app.
Oh, okay.
We've just removed the
Yeah.
paywall from all the features that were
Yeah.
because we just want people to see what we've built, and we'll get you hooked and then
Yep.
we'll eventually come up with something new to charge.
Yeah, and it'll help you
how it
plan your trips. So, well, heck yeah, man. Well, we thank y'all for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, go download the Tripio app. Myself and Cotton have used it, so we love it. And all of our worker performance company trips are through Tripio. So, and they're amazing.
Awesome places
Yep,
to see.
awesome places, and we don't do shit. So, like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure to, if you're on Facebook, like and share the post, and we'll catch y'all next time.